everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. So slightly different video today. It's now been 12 months since I took over my allotment plot, and I thought it'd just be really nice to do a sit down video of how I found having my first ever allotment plot for the first year. So I hope you enjoy it. If I'm looking down, it is because I've got my notebook with me, because I've written a couple of notes down because my memory's not great and I'm not great at speaking off of the cuff. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. I'd love to hear how you're finding having your allotment plot, if you've had it for only a year, 6 months, or if you've had it for 10, 15, even 20 years. I would love to hear about how you found it. If you have any tips for anyone who's looking to get their own plot, put it down in the comments and we can share it with everyone. So yeah, let's get on with it. So first thing, I just thought we'd start with a little bit of an overview, and to be perfectly honest, it has exceeded all of my expectations. I have wanted my own allotment plot for such a long time. I was on the waiting list, obviously because of COVID it was probably a little bit longer than most people, but so I was waiting for my plot for about 2 years actually, nearly to the point actually of 24 months. I'm sure I put my name on it in the February of 2020, and then obviously COVID hit, everything went into lockdown, and everything kind of stopped. So it might have been a year, I don't know if it hadn't have been for COVID, but yeah, so it was just over 24 months for me to be able to get my plot, and it has just been the nicest place that I get to go, whether it be just a normal everyday week, just getting to go and do all my bits, or if I'm having a really rough week, say with work or just in life in general, it's a really nice place that I get to go and escape, make sure I go and get some fresh air every single week for a really good amount of time, and just by myself. Majority of the time that I'm out getting fresh air is because I'm taking Robbie for a walk, so just to have my own space for even just an hour a week makes such a difference to how I get to refresh and get to almost like refresh before the next week. So I would say obviously it's easier, well it was easier in the summer, where you could just take 20 minutes here and there in the evenings and go down and enjoy it. Obviously with winter you can't do that, so it's something that now that we're coming back into spring I get to enjoy again, which has been absolutely lovely. Another thing that I really enjoyed actually, and I didn't expect to, was just meeting other like-minded people. I don't have many friends that are into gardening as much as I do, so to be around people, to get advice, just to speak to them that kind of have the same interests, it's been really, really lovely. So yeah, I mean, even with the weather, when the weather is awful, I'm quite happy to be down there with my big old coat on, hood up, and just working away. And you've probably seen it in previous videos where I've just worked away during the rain. It doesn't bother me. A little bit of rain isn't going to hurt me, so yeah, not a problem at all to do that. Obviously a lot nicer when it was the summer, and I'm hoping that this year I get to enjoy it a bit more with the nicer weather, whereas last year it was kind of working away, getting just super hot, really worn out, in the sun all the time, and then having to leave because I forgot to bring my sun cream with me, which I always do. So I've actually got a bench to take with me. It's got the metal sides and it did have wooden slats down the middle, but they're all starting to break down a little bit and I think they've rotted a little bit. So I'm going to get them replaced and take those down to the plot, and I'm going to get like a parasol or something that I can just put up and kind of sit under when needed. So yeah, that'll be a really nice addition to the plot this year. So the second thing I want to talk about is money, because money was one of the biggest things that I was worried about when I signed all my contract, got my key. I was a little bit worried that at the time, because I wasn't sure when I was going to get my plot, I didn't have money set aside for it, which is something I wish I'd done, even just put away say like £10 a month away, just so that when the time came I had just kind of like a starting point. But it was okay, it was fine. Majority of the first month or two was spent clearing bits away, so I didn't have to buy too much, and luckily I had a shed that was full of tools that were workable as well, or usable, should I say. So I was really lucky in that kind of sense. But what I would say is, if that is one thing you're worried about, please don't, because you can spend as little or as much as you like. I've probably spent a bit more than majority of people have, just because I wanted to build things like the fruit cage. I've bought quite a lot of seeds that I probably could have seed swapped. So if you are short of cash, that's something you can do. I also bought mine all online, and you can pick up some really great seeds from places like Wilkinson's, or Wilco's I think it's called now. I don't think it's called Wilkinson's in a very long time, but I actually bought some lettuce from there, and that did really well. I was worried that the cheaper I went with seeds, maybe they wouldn't germinate as much, but I was completely wrong. The I think it was a crimson melon that I bought from the range, and I think that was like 89p a pack, and that came out really well last year. I just didn't leave it long enough, unfortunately, so it was still pretty pale in the middle, but that germinated really well. That it got big enough that I did try a little bit and it wasn't quite right, so I didn't get to eat most of it. But yeah, you can pick up things really cheaply if you need to. Don't let that stop you from number one, putting your name down, and number two, actually signing a contract and agreeing to take it over. There is obviously, if you're getting an allotment from the council, there is obviously a charge for that. Depending on when you kind of start in the year, you may get a discount for the first year. And I know that they are going up. Mine went up 6% this year, so it's obviously a little bit much, but it's cheaper than me having a gym membership. So yeah, I would just say, if it's what you really want to do and it's what you love doing, 100% just go for it. It's worth the little bit of cash for the rent, 100%. But yeah, I would just say you can spend as little or as much as you like. Go to places like Facebook Marketplace if you need a table and chairs for over in your plot. You can pick up tools from there. People may even just be giving them away when they're doing a garden clear out, so make sure you keep an eye on that. I think you can set up alerts, so I'd need to look into that, but just keep an eye on it if there's something that you really need. Have a look as well at places like charity shops, the big cancer research superstores out there. Ours, close to us, has a lot of gardening bits that come in, a lot of furniture as well. So have a little look on there if you're short of cash. If not, maybe just invest in a couple of bits as well. So if you can invest, I would say do it, just because obviously don't overspend. You don't need to spend a lot of money on, you don't need to spend £100 on a spade. You can pick one up for £20 from B&Q if you cannot find one any cheaper than that. So don't go spending loads of money, because you just really don't need to. Things that I would suggest investing in would be things like seed trays. So try and pick up really sturdy seed trays that will last you at least a couple of years. I recently picked up the silicone ones, so they're obviously a little bit more, quite a bit more to be honest with you. I think it was about £15 for one of the trays, but I'm hoping that will last me until I no longer have a plot anymore, if I'm honest with you. So I'll let you know how they go though, because I just think it'd be a really great investment. And the amount of, when I took over, plastic that was sitting in the ground, just tiny little pieces, was quite upsetting actually, the amount of plastic that was just sat in the ground. And obviously if, when you buy stuff from places like B&Q or just buying your already kind of done fruit and veg, keep those pots. Don't go out and buy loads of money, just keep those pots. They'll do the job perfectly well. So yeah, it's those things to kind of look out for. So the next thing I want to talk about is time, because this was another concern of mine, that I just wasn't going to have the time, especially during summer when people were planning things. However, one of the perks that you have during the summer is that you have the lighter evening. So if you know you cannot make it to the allotment for a whole weekend, try just going for 20 minutes. 3 times in Monday to Friday, and you will find that those 20 minutes will soon add up. Maybe write a list at the beginning of the week. Don't try and stick to specific days, because if it does rain, it will put a bit of a damper and you'll get panicked and worried. That's what I did last year. But so I just wrote a list down of all of the jobs that needed doing, and then when I could get down there, when the weather was okay, I would just pick one thing from that list that I could do that evening, and it worked out really well. I got a lot done when I couldn't make it to the plot at the weekend, so 100% do that. Does it? I'm just trying to think on whether it is for things like the fruit cage. I would, having that bigger amount of time and being there for a longer period for a whole day is 100% more beneficial. Not having to start all the time is brilliant. However, if you can't do that, it won't stop you from having a plot. There are obviously things where sometimes you might need to be there for longer periods of time. If you're, say, putting up a polytunnel or putting up a shed, they are going to be time consuming jobs, so don't underestimate them. But you can do it without having to spend 3 hours every single week at the plot. It's just not needed, and it's not necessary. And that's one of the things that I really learned. Probably it took me about 6 months to learn it, that you don't need to be there all the time. It's absolutely fine. Just because you're not there for a whole day, say on a Saturday, no one is going to care. Don't worry that people don't think that you're there. The plot will speak for itself, and your hard work will speak for itself. So do not worry about that. One thing I would say about time as well, before you go and pick your plot out, when someone would probably contact you and say, there's a plot become available, would you like to go and see it? And majority of the time is that they're doing it in big groups of people as well. So you might get to see 3 or 4. So before you do go, what I would say is just write down how much time that you think you will, honestly as well, make sure you're being honest with yourself. How much time are you probably going to be able to go down there every single week? And when it comes to picking out your plot, don't pick this huge plot that needs all of this work if you're not going to have the time to spend there. If it's that you just want to grow a couple of little bits and bobs, stick with a smaller plot. It's fine. You can still get so much on there. Don't worry that because you haven't got a big plot, you can't grow as much. There are so many great videos out there that will show you how to make the most of your space, whether that be gardening videos, so just home gardeners, or allotment people, people that have massive amount of land. Those small tips will still come in handy even if you have an allotment plot. So keep an eye out on those videos. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Don't overwhelm yourself. You don't need to have a big plot to make a big impact, or for it to be worth it, as they say. You will be absolutely fine, and you're better off having a smaller plot, not overwhelming yourself, and actually enjoying the experience, rather than having this huge plot and then being so overwhelmed that you don't even want to go anymore. That was one of the things that I found, that maybe I did go a bit too overboard with the size that I wanted. Now, in the long run, I probably am fine, especially with the fruit cage. I would never have been able to do that with an allotment plot, but I still would have been able to grow fruit. It would have been fine. But it just meant that I had the space to grow a cage, or make a cage, should I say. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you're going to pick your plot out, is how much time are you honestly going to be able to spend there every single week. I don't have any hobbies really where I need to go every week to make the most money out of, or there's only a certain time that I can go to those hobbies or classes and things. I don't have any children, so I don't need to worry about if I need to just quickly pop down there for 20 minutes, I can, it's fine. But keep those things in mind when you're coming to pick your plot out. So the next thing I want to talk about is lessons learned, because I really feel like if you are about to, number one, either start your first allotment plot, or you're really struggling with yours at the moment, you're in your first year or even second year, I really hope that these things might help you. And they're just things I kind of wish that I had thought about earlier, or just kept in mind, really. So the first thing is just don't try and make it perfect. I spent so frustratingly long, thinking about where everything's going to go, how it's going to look, how am I meant to do it perfectly first time, and you just won't. Unless you spend most of your childhood growing up with either a parent or a grandparent, or just surrounded by people that had their own allotment or did a lot of gardening and shared that with you, then you probably won't know. I spent a lot of my time in the garden with my mum, and I still didn't. I thought I would know more, and it just won't be the case. So don't spend so much time worrying about it being perfect. Get it in the ground. You can move stuff next year. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You're not in a rush to make sure that everything is perfect in the first 6 weeks of having an allotment. Nobody is going to expect that from you, and I really wish that I had just put things in the ground and not wasted so much time, because it felt like wasted time when I really thought about it. It felt really silly. So yeah, don't waste your time trying to be perfect, because it is a waste of time. The next thing is, listen to others. However, remember that you can do your own thing. So obviously take advice from people. However, everyone is going to do it a different way. So one person's advice about one thing may be completely different to somebody else's. They may both have 10 years experience of having an allotment plot, but they've done it 2 completely different ways, and it's both come out fine. So just because you're a newbie doesn't mean that you can't go with what you think best. So take the advice, say thank you. There's no need to be rude about it, but if you've got it in your head that you want to do something a certain way, just do it. What makes 2 different opinions mean that yours is wrong? It's not. And if you make a mistake and you learn a lesson from it, then it's a bonus. Let's just say, don't be afraid to give it a go just because you're a beginner. People will do their own thing. They will think how they want to think. So just do you, be yourself, and go for it. Just don't worry about offending somebody else because you didn't take their advice, or doing it wrong because you didn't take their advice. Just do it and trust your gut, trust yourself. If there is a certain way someone's giving you advice, maybe have a little look at it. Have a look up on the internet, read some books. I really like books because you can put notes in them. It's one thing when I'm watching a lot of YouTube videos, I have watched a lot of them to get some advice. And I'm always taking notes down in my notepad. But if you've got a book, you can write stuff in there. Don't worry about ruining a book. That's yours. Like, you've got it. Unless you've obviously borrowed it from someone, do not write notes in it. Get your own notepad. But yeah, just put notes in there. So don't be afraid. But that leads me on to my next thing, which is take notes. One thing I really wish I had done a lot more of last year is just take notes. So kind of, when you've put things in the ground, how long things germinate, the amount of things I've tried to germinate this year and realised that I just haven't left it long enough, or I didn't realise it was going to come up that quickly. So if you've taken notes, and seed packet may say 7 days, but the weather's been so bad, it could take 2 weeks. So give things time, take down notes, and also take down some notes about some weather, because a seed packet may say plant in April, but if, like at the moment, we're still getting frost in April, so you probably don't want to be putting direct sowing things into the ground when there's still frost. So keep a little note of when was the last frost of this year, or did you get a lot of frost in March? Almost keep like a little monthly journal, and that's what I've started doing this year, just keeping a couple of notes for each month, and also when I'm planting things out, what did work, what didn't work. I'll be writing in there that my kohlrabi bolted, so annoyed. I just don't think I watered enough, but yeah, that was a big lesson learned, is to take notes. One of the ladies at my allotment, she actually takes little photos as well, which I think is such a nice idea. So I might start doing that soon, I think. Getting myself almost like a little scrapbook, because I've got a Polaroid which takes tiny little ones, and I've got a 35mm camera as well. So I want to take a lot more photos when I'm there, putting them in, and just writing a couple of notes next to them is always a great thing. But if you don't have one of those, take them on your phone. There's loads of websites, and you can still go to places like Boots and get them printed, and just stick them in and do it that way. So, and the last thing I want to talk about today is just what I'm going to be doing in the next 12 months, and how I'm kind of be leading my mindset with having my plot. First of all, just being kinder to myself. Don't beat myself up when things go wrong. I'm a beginner. I'm not meant to know everything. Having a plot for a year and being on the plot every single week for a year does not mean you're going to be an expert. So I just need to be kinder to myself. Don't worry when things go wrong. Don't try and be perfect. Just giving it a go. I feel like I'm already winning. So yeah. The second thing I want to do this year is to build my knowledge a lot more. So spend time, especially if it comes to the winter, and obviously I can't get down there in a week, but I do have 20 minutes spare, just grabbing out a book and taking a couple of notes in there, rather than just watching videos of when things get planted, how to build a climbing set for peas and monge 2 and things. Having a look at videos about kind of the reasoning why behind things. There are a lot out there, I just haven't seen them, because that's not what I've been searching for. So building my knowledge is going to be a really big thing this year, and I think taking notes will help with that. I also do want to invest in a lot of courses, and I also want to volunteer at a few more places, or just a few places to be honest, this year. I really feel like that will help build my knowledge, and especially build my knowledge just with a lot, or from a different aspect and a different opinion, from a lot of different places. So I really want to get my name down on a few places. I have put my name down for one place already, so fingers crossed that comes up, because I'm really excited about that. And also just being able to meet some more like-minded people with it. But I do also want to invest in myself a lot more. So that means just taking some courses. So even if that is an investment in regards to money, now that I've put the money into my plot, I should hopefully have a little bit of extra cash that I can save up, and put that into building my knowledge and investing in courses that will help me in the long run. And last but not least, I really just want to enjoy myself this year. Of course I enjoyed myself over the last 12 months. However, I did spend a lot of the time clearing the plot, building things, making sure everything was ready, worrying that things weren't perfect. So this year is just about having the time of my life. I'm really enjoying the space of being there. Sitting down, having a cup of tea during the day, and not worrying that I'm not being productive, which is one thing I probably should have said in lessons learned. You don't have to be productive all of the time. You can just sit down and have a cup of tea and enjoy yourself. So don't ever worry about that. So yeah, I think that's going to conclude the video today. Thank you so much for watching. And if you're in your first year of owning an allotment plot, enjoy yourself. Do not overthink things, because I promise you it doesn't matter. Do what you can, enjoy yourself, and just have a good time. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and see you all again soon. Bye guys.